Hey y'all, it's Morgan. Welcome to my happy place. I actually just finished a video and I touched on something and I decided to just do its own little video of it. Um, with the violets or orchids or anything that you're growing, I am not someone who is going to keep meticulous records over a lot of this because quite frankly, that would take a lot of the joy out of it for me. Some people enjoy that, they need that, and that is great for them. But even if you're someone like me who doesn't really enjoy it, I did want to talk about a couple of little things. I probably am, now I am a planner girl. I have my planners and things like that. And I will probably jot down because I am going to replace some of the water in these today. And before I add anything to the water, I am going to check with the TDS meter the parts per million, and I'm going to check my pH and see where I am. That way I will know what I need to add to the reservoir. Now I have had these on a wick watering system for at least a week. It may be closer to 2 weeks now. And I'm not out of water yet. A couple of them are getting low, and it is the ones with the larger plants that are drinking a bit more. But I am going to check that. So I'm going to write down on today's date just what my parts per million is prior to adding anything and what my pH is. That will determine what I add to the reservoir, how much fertilizer I add, and what pH. So what I will do, once I mix up my fertilizer, if they need fertilizer, I will check the pH of that, and I will add it to the reservoirs. Each of the reservoirs, I will check the pH and the parts per million. I will jot that down. That will give me a good indication of if the water is, or the nutrient solution is changing over the course of time. Is it becoming more acidic? Is it becoming more alkaline? Because that will let me know what nutrients my plants are able to take up, what they're utilizing. If I have a lower pH, that happens a lot of times if you add, when you add your nutrients to it, it does tend to lower the pH. And so there are going to be some nutrients that are going to be more readily available to the plants. So if I'm seeing something that is a concern, leaf coloration, things like that. Now I think this is actually the pattern of the leaf, but were I seeing some chlorosis, some yellowing in between the veins, that would give me a good indication that there is a nutritional nutritional deficiency. And by checking the pH, that will give me information about what nutrients it may be deficient in. Some of the deficiencies can be very similar as far as the, turning yellows. Now, some of them will have a yellowing between the veins. Some of them will have a halo effect around the edge of the leaves. It can be very different. But by noticing what my pH has been running, what I'm doing as far as the parts per million, are they getting so much? If your parts per million is super high, well, they possibly are getting locked out of being able to absorb some of the other nutrients. One of them that comes to mind is calcium, because if you have a really high nitrogen and it lowers the pH too much, you're not going to get calcium. You're not going to get phosphorus. Phosphorus helps with blooming and it helps with root development. So it's important that it has an availability of all of the nutrients. So if I find that my pH has been running particularly low, then I'll make sure this time that I have it bumped up a little bit. I don't want to go crazy and raise it 3 or 4 pH points because that's going to shock the plant. But you can gradually increase or decrease depending on the needs of your plant. But like I said, I'm not going to go into doing charts and graphs and having everything recorded and logs for it, but I am going to jot down my pH, my parts per million, what it is to start with, what it is that I put in it, and then the next time I get ready to do the water, I'll do the same thing. Now, if I see a problem in the interim, I'll go ahead and check it, but I think just keeping an eye on it, knowing what your water parameters usually are, will give you a pretty good basis for your plants. These are not so picky that a half of a pH point is really going to make that big of a deal. But it does give you good information, and it's good to know what you normally have and what you need to do. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.